No one is going to save you when it comes to your finances. Not your boyfriend, not your husband, not your situationship. You have to save you. Once I figured that out, everything changed, you guys. Everything. And this video is all about what I wish I knew when I was 22 years old about finances. The first biggest pillar is starting with an emergency savings. You guys, when I was younger, I was just focused on marriage. I grew up in the LDS faith, and there's a huge push to start a family, which is so beautiful, so meaningful, and I still want all those things. So in the back of my head, I always thought the family and starting a family and relying on a husband who's supposed to be the provider is just what is going to happen with my life. Plot twist, I'm 29 years old. And I am not married. I don't have any children. I've never been divorced. And it occurred to me after I was dating my last boyfriend. We broke up last year, May of 2025, that first of all, I don't want to date losers with no motivation, but that I did have motivation when it came to finances, hustle, and going after what I wanted. The biggest part in all of that was that I had to start somewhere. I think in my mind, I always knew I would be successful, but after I got out of that relationship and realized after seeing someone be so lazy and have nothing going for him in the moment, like I'm sure he has potential, but realizing that you can't just go off of potential, but you have to take action. And so I had to put money where my mouth was, I think that's the phrase, and start building the life that I want for myself. So for context, I was at the time living in an apartment that was about, I believe it was $2,000 a month plus utilities, like $2,200. And I was taking home probably around $5,000 to $5,500 a month, which is pretty good. But with my expenses being so high, as well as how much debt I had, it was really hard to manage. I remember still putting like little expenses here and there on credit cards that I couldn't afford, but that was kind of just like the lifestyle that I was at and that I was living in. After my lease was up at this really expensive apartment I was living in, I decided that I wanted to lower my expenses so that I could start preparing for the future, paying off debt, putting savings away, and start putting the money where my mouth is, or whatever the phrase is, and just living up to who I know I am inside, which is someone that works hard and has something to show for it and create a name for herself. So what I did is I got my living expenses down from $2,200 a month to about $750. So I cut just my rent and utilities down by 55-60%, which was life-changing for me. I remember I thrifted the book by Dave Ramsey, The Money Makeover, and I started reading it, and it really changed my perspective on finances and how critical it was to start now. So I looked at my debt, I looked at my credit card debt, which had been accumulated due to a car accident that I was in that caused me not to be able to work properly a full-time job because of the injuries. And that's how I accrued so much credit card debt. And I think I was looking at, like $22,000 or $23,000 in credit card debt. And then on top of that, I had student loans and my car, which is still like a low amount of money in terms of a car loan, but it's still debt. So I looked at all of that, I cut down my expenses major, and I just started putting a ton of money toward debt every month. I'm talking like $2,000 to $2,500 a month ever since last August. And that changed the trajectory of my life, and I want it to change the trajectory of yours. So in Dave Ramsey's book, he talks about saving $1,000 first and foremost, and then going into paying off high interest debt. I did a little bit differently. I started with $1,000 and then I started paying off debt. But the difference that I did is I continued to create the habit of saving every single week because I didn't want to lose that. And so what I do is I put $75 automatically into a high yield savings account every single month. Some people don't agree with that. I wanted to form the habits that would stay with me for the rest of my life. So that's what I do. And then on top of that, which Dave Ramsey probably also doesn't agree with, because he says do not invest or save past $1,000 in an emergency fund until after you're completely debt free. But I wanted to develop the habits now. So on top of doing $75 a week for the high yield savings account, I also invest $50 every 2 weeks into a Roth IRA, which basically means that you put money that's already been taxed into an investment account that when you're over 59 and a half years old, you can withdraw that money penalty free that's been put into the market at usually a 7 to 8% return every year on average. And you're able to withdraw that money tax-free because it was already taxed when you put it in. And it's basically just like another retirement account. So I started that because I thought it was really important for me to begin that process. And again, I wanted to be creating these habits that would stick with me for a lifetime and that I could pass on to my, future family or my current family, yada, yada, yada. So that's what I did. And on top of that, I'm a server at a restaurant, well, actually 2 restaurants, but I also put money into my money into my 401k once I qualified it after working there for a year. So I put as much as I possibly can of that paycheck every month. I max out how much I can, I believe it's 5% and then they match it. I could max it out more, but I do that percentage. And then that's building, which is super cool. I've only put $200 in it and it's already has over $500, which is just so interesting and amazing. This is truly how wealth is built. So these are some of the things I've been doing. Now, by the first week of June, I will be completely credit card debt free, which means I'll have paid off $23,000, $24,000 within 9 months, which is pretty badass if you ask me. When I think about that, it's wow, that's really freaking cool. But these are some of the things that I've done to get to the point of realizing that my finances, my future, it is all in my hands and in your hands. It's not in your boyfriend's hands, in your situationship's hands. At the end of the day, no one is coming to save you for your finances, and that has been the most freeing thing ever. When I look in the high yield savings account and I see I have an emergency savings that's building every single week and accruing interest, it's powerful. And when I see that I've paid off, it's about probably $17,000 or $18,000 within the span of 6 months, that is huge for me. The security it brings and the self-confidence that it has given me is huge. Seeing that I have investment accounts that are building wealth for me when I'm in my 60s and 70s, I can pass on to my kids and grandchildren and anyone and that I love, that is huge. And that is the power of finances, especially for those that maybe were not raised in a family that talked about these things all the time, or you were, but you didn't, execute on these things. So it's just super freaking exciting. And I think knowing that you do have power to actually make a difference in your own financial life is huge. If I were starting fresh today, I would look at my finances, look at my debts, look at my savings, my checking, my everything, my 401k if I have or have not invested in it. And I would say, okay, first of all, how much money am I putting out every single month? What is my output? How much money am I spending? And really analyze, okay, if I'm spending $5,000 a month, but I'm bringing in okay, how much is going on credit cards? How much am I overspending out of my savings or putting into bad debt? And then I would kind of move on from there. I would look at everything, analyze it, and then I'd be like, okay, well, how can I cut down my expenses? Maybe it's moving in with a roommate. Maybe it's having a roommate move in with you. Maybe it's moving back in with family temporarily. Maybe it's cutting expenses that you don't need right now. I don't believe in taking away all the fun out of life to get out of debt. Like, I've still been going out to eat. I've still done little shopping here and there. I have definitely cut out vacationing for the most part, except to see my family once since I started this journey, because I still find it to be very important. I think that a lot of sacrifices need to be made, but you don't have to sacrifice 100% of the time, because I think there is this aspect of it, which is the longevity of it all. And I think once you look at all those things, like, okay, where can I cut expenses? I would do exactly that, whether that's, cutting down eating out, cutting down shopping, cutting down, living expenses, like moving in with someone, waiting till your lease is done and then getting a cheaper living situation. Like, there's so many things you can do. And then once I analyzed that and made a plan for that, I would also move into the debt aspect. Okay, so what are my debts looking like? Do I have credit card debt? Do I have student loans? Do I have car debt? And really taking a look at it. I know it's scary to do that, because you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, if I look at it, it just makes it real and I want to ignore it. But it actually will make it better the sooner you acknowledge it for what it is. As soon as you're like, okay, I owe $30,000 in student loans. I owe $10,000 on my car, or I owe $23,000 in credit cards. Like, whatever it is, like, we've all had stuff come up in our lives. The sooner that you look at it for what it is, the sooner you can become financially free and build wealth and be a millionaire someday. Like, this is the potential that you have, and you don't want to be like my loser ex-boyfriend who is just wasting his potential and doing nothing and being a lazy loser. You're not a loser, you're a winner. So winners make things happen. So be someone that makes things happen and look at the situation at hand. Okay, so say you have X amount of credit card debt, X amount of car debt for the loan on your car, and maybe some student loan debt. Okay, perfect. Well, now you have to look at, once I cut down my expenses and stay within this budget, and then once I look at how much debt I owe and how much I can put down every month, do I need to pick up a second job or side hustle? The answer is probably yes. You might need to pick up a job as a server on the side. You might need to pick up a desk job, a customer service job, like something that's bringing in $300, $400, $500 extra a week. And you might be thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do that. Well, this is going to take hard work and applying yourself. It's not easy, but it's also not easy to be in debt. It's also not easy to have no security, no savings account, no nothing. So you need to get a second job. You need to get a side hustle. You need something in addition to cutting down expenses, which would equate for this excess income, so you can put that toward the high interest debt and get that paid off. Now, this might be a controversial take, but I personally think that it's extremely critical to start the habits of saving money every week and investing. Some financial people don't agree with that. I think that building habits is huge, and even if you're just saving 15, 20, 25 bucks a week, whatever you can do in your budget, do it. And when it comes to investing, some people say don't invest any money until you're 100% debt free. That is not the approach I took, because again, I wanted to start those habits now. I didn't want to wait until I became debt free and like, okay, now I'm going to do it, but I don't have a habit of it. Like, no, I'm doing it now. And then once I'm debt free, I will majorly majorly ramp up how much I'm putting into my investments. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to execute. You're going to pay off debt in high, large sums monthly. You are going to cut down your outflow. You're going to cut where you can. You're still going to enjoy dinner with your girlfriends here and then. You're still going to enjoy a TJ Maxx run here and there. The difference is you're not just going to pick up and buy whatever you want when you walk in there and put it on a credit card. You're going to be strategic. You're like, okay, maybe I'm going to get a lip gloss or some kind of makeup for under $10 and then maybe a second item. I'm going to enjoy walking the whole store, and maybe I'll take pictures of things that I cannot afford right now, but I would love to envision in the future and manifest that life that's coming to you in 2 or 3 years. But you're going to have to take sacrifices now so that you can build the life that you want to. Same with when you go out to eat. Maybe before you'd spend $30, $40, $50 and really just like balls to the wall with it. Maybe now you're being more strategic, getting a kid's meal for a third of the cost, or not getting alcoholic drinks and just getting a soda or water or club soda with lime. Like finding ways that you can cut down your outflow so that you are putting that money towards savings, investing, and most importantly, debt. I want to continue to share what I've learned about finances with you, so subscribe, become a part of the Financial Glow Up Girlies, okay? This is what we need to do. And just know that I believe in you. You are not a loser. You are a winner. Winners take action. So take action. De-center making the whole focus of your life, getting married and having kids, as hard as it is to do, and start focusing on what you can control and how you can become the matriarch of your family, that how you can be the breadwinner and how you can make your dreams a reality. Okay, that is my big fat advice for the day. And comment your thoughts, and love you guys.